watch your purchasing power dissolve year after year, and you call it inflation, as if giving it a name makes it natural. You see wealth concentrate in fewer hands while your savings lose meaning, and you accept it as complexity you cannot understand. But what if I told you this collapse was predicted with surgical precision nearly 1,000 years ago by a man who watched empires rot from the inside? What if the financial chaos you experience daily, the institutional distrust, the manipulated markets, the currency games, was already mapped as a symptom of moral decay in economic systems? You were never taught this because the people running the system prefer you confused. Machiavelli understood that power flows to those who see clearly, while others stumble in comfortable lies. And the medieval scholar who diagnosed your modern financial prison knew something about money that your economics professors will never admit. Picture yourself checking your bank account and feeling that quiet dread. The number looks the same as last year, but everything costs more. Your salary climbed slightly, but rent climbed faster. You saved carefully, yet your savings buy less. Meanwhile, headlines celebrate market highs, while your day-to-day expenses strangle you slowly. This is not random. This is the result of a system where currency loses integrity, where speculation rewards the connected while labor barely survives, where wealth hoards instead of circulates, and where the institutions claiming to protect stability are the same ones debasing the foundation you stand on. Now, project forward. 10 years from now, you will have worked harder, saved more carefully, followed all the rules, and you will own less freedom than you have today. Your effort will not match your outcome, because the game is designed to transfer value upward while you chase the illusion of security. The people at the top are not smarter. They simply understand that money is not a neutral tool. It is a weapon of control. And you were taught to treat it like a friendly assistant. That ignorance is expensive, and it compounds. Machiavelli spent his life watching princes rise and fall based on one skill: the ability to see systems as they are, not as people wish them to be. He knew that moral language is often a disguise for strategic theft. He knew that institutions justify their actions with fairness while operating on leverage and fear. He understood that the masses are controlled not through direct force, but through the slow manipulation of incentives, symbols, and trust. Money is one of those symbols, and when a state or financial system manipulates that symbol, it does not announce the theft. It hides behind terms like monetary policy, liquidity management, stimulus, and economic growth. What you are about to see are 4 Machiavellian frameworks pulled from the writings of a medieval Islamic scholar named Al-Ghazali, a man who understood financial systems the way Machiavelli understood political power. These frameworks will show you how currency manipulation, hoarding, speculation, and the collapse of trust operate today in the same patterns he identified in the 11th century. This is not history. This is a manual for reading the financial war being waged on you right now. And once you see it clearly, you stop being a target and start being a strategist. Number 1. The mirror principle. Money has no loyalty, only utility. Here is what changes. You stop treating money as something sacred or neutral. You start seeing it as a tool that reflects the intentions of whoever controls its flow. Money is not your friend. It is a mirror. It shows you what the system values and who the system serves. And right now, that mirror shows you a structure designed to transfer your labor into someone else's wealth. Machiavelli would tell you that princes who rely on the goodwill of their people without understanding incentives lose their thrones. The same applies to you. If you treat money as a passive store of value without understanding who controls its creation, its distribution, and its rules, you will watch your value dissolve while others multiply theirs. The system does not operate on fairness. It operates on access. Those close to the creation of money, central banks, governments, large institutions, spend it first when it still holds value. By the time it reaches you, It has already been diluted. This is not conspiracy. This is structure. Al-Ghazali said money is like a mirror. It has no value in itself, only in what it reflects. Your labor, your time, your energy gets reflected in currency. But when the mirror is bent, when the currency is debased or inflated, the reflection distorts. You work the same hours, but the reflection shows less value. Machiavelli would call this a quiet form of taxation without declaration. It allows the state to fund itself by stealing from you in a way you barely notice until it is too late. Picture the old version of yourself. You check your account balance and feel reassured because the number has not dropped. You ignore the fact that bread costs more, rent climbed again, and your car repair bill doubled. You think stability means the number stays the same. Now picture the new version. You measure your wealth not in currency, but in purchasing power. You track inflation not through official reports, but through your grocery bill and fuel costs. You understand that when a government expands money supply, it is not creating wealth, it is redistributing it from you to whoever gets the new money first. You stop trusting the number. You start trusting the structure. Your instruction is simple. For the next 30 days, track one category of regular expense: food, transportation, housing, or utilities. Compare what it cost you 1 year ago to what it costs now. Write down the percentage increase. Then compare that to any raise or income growth you received. Look at the gap. That gap is the theft Machiavelli would have recognized immediately. Once you see it, you stop blaming yourself for not saving enough. You start blaming the system for quietly taking what you earned. Number 2, the circulation law. Hoarded wealth is dead power. Here is what shifts. You stop admiring concentrated wealth as success and start recognizing it as systemic constipation. When money does not circulate, economies starve. Not because resources disappeared, but because the flow stopped. And when the flow stops, prices distort, markets seize, and the people at the bottom suffocate first. Machiavelli understood that a prince must keep his city fed, employed, and moving, or rebellion becomes inevitable. The same logic applies to wealth. When the wealthy hoard instead of circulate, they create artificial scarcity. They are not protecting their wealth. They are weaponizing it. And the weapon works because you were taught to see their hoarding as smart financial planning instead of economic strangulation. Al-Ghazali called hoarded money dead money. He said it freezes the bloodstream of society. Picture blood pooling in one organ while the rest of the body dies from lack of oxygen. That is what happens when billionaires park trillions in offshore accounts, when corporations hold cash reserves instead of investing in wages or production, when financial elites buy assets not to use them, but to lock them away as stores of value. The rest of the economy, the part you live in, gasps for liquidity. Prices rise not because goods are scarce, but because money is trapped. Picture yourself in the old frame. You see a billionaire's net worth climb, and you think he must be brilliant. You see corporations sitting on mountains of cash, and you assume it is strategy. You watch housing prices soar and conclude that real estate is just a good investment. Now picture yourself in the new frame. You see the billionaire's hoard as a dam blocking the river. You see corporate cash reserves as a decision to strangle worker wages and consumer spending. You see housing price inflation as the result of wealth using property not as shelter, but as a vault. You stop admiring the hoard. You start recognizing it as a siege. Your instruction is direct. Identify one area of your life where you are hoarding value out of fear instead of circulating it strategically. This could be money sitting in a low-return account doing nothing. Skills you refuse to monetize because you are waiting for perfect conditions, or relationships you keep at arm's length because you fear exposure. Choose one. Within 72 hours, move it. Not recklessly, but deliberately. Put the money into something that compounds. Offer the skill to someone who will pay for it. Deepen the relationship by one honest conversation. Circulation creates power. Hoarding creates slow death. Number 3. The speculation trap. Profit without contribution is parasitism. Here is the reframe. You stop celebrating market cleverness and start asking one question. Did this profit come from creation or extraction? If someone made money by manipulating information, exploiting a crisis, or creating artificial shortages, they did not win. They stole. And when theft is rewarded, the system decays. Machiavelli knew that a prince could rule through fear or love, but never through contempt. When the people see their leader as a parasite, rebellion is only a matter of time. The same applies to markets. When participants see that speculation, not contribution, is the fastest path to wealth, trust collapses. And when trust collapses, the entire structure becomes fragile. It does not matter how much wealth exists. If people stop believing in the fairness of the system, they abandon it. Al-Ghazali had no patience for merchants who manipulated prices, created artificial shortages, or profited from others' suffering. He did not call it smart business. He called it corruption. And he argued that corruption spreads like disease. Once one merchant cheats and succeeds, others follow. Once institutions tolerate speculation over production, the economy shifts from building to gambling. You see this everywhere today. Housing crises fueled by speculative investment. Crypto bubbles built on hype instead of utility. Pharmaceutical companies pricing life-saving drugs based on desperation instead of cost. Every time profit disconnects from contribution, someone suffers. And that someone is almost always you. Picture the old version of yourself. You see someone flip a house for triple the price after holding it 6 months, and you think they are smart. You watch traders profit from market crashes and assume that is just how finance works. You hear about crisis profiteering and shrug, because everyone is doing it. Now picture the new version. You see the house flipper as someone who added no value but extracted wealth by limiting supply. You see the crisis trader as a vulture monetizing fear. You recognize that when profit comes from suffering instead of service, the system is not functioning. It is feeding on itself. And you are the meal. Your instruction is cold but necessary. Audit your own behavior. Find one place where you are tempted to profit without contributing. This could be cutting corners at work and coasting on someone else's effort, selling something you know is overpriced to someone who trusts you, or positioning yourself to benefit from someone else's failure. Identify it. Then stop. Not because morality makes you noble, but because parasitic behavior makes you weak. Machiavelli respected ruthless strategy, but he despised self-destructive short-sightedness. Parasites die when the host dies. Builders survive because they create value that sustains them. Number 4. The trust threshold. Systems collapse when belief evaporates. Here is the brutal truth. Economies do not collapse because the math stops working. They collapse because people stop trusting each other. When you lose faith that contracts will be honored, that currency will hold value, that institutions will act fairly, you stop participating. And when enough people stop participating, the system dies. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved, but a prince must never be hated. Hatred leads to conspiracies, assassinations, and regime collapse. The same applies to financial systems. A government can manipulate currency for a while. A central bank can print money and call it stimulus. Corporations can lobby for rules that favor them. But there is a threshold. Cross it, and people stop believing. They flee to foreign currencies. They barter instead of using official money. They build parallel economies. And once that flight begins, no amount of force or propaganda can reverse it. Al-Ghazali predicted this centuries ago. He said that when rulers debased currency, the population would eventually abandon it and use stronger alternatives. He watched it happen in his time. We are watching it happen now. People in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Argentina, and Turkey stopped trusting their government money and moved to dollars, crypto, or gold. Not because they are rebels, because they are survivors, and survival requires rejecting a tool that no longer works. Picture the old version of yourself. You assume the system is too big to fail. You trust that inflation is temporary, that institutions have your interest in mind, that the rules will protect you. You wait for someone to fix it. Now picture the new version. You see institutions as self-interested actors playing a game where you are the cost, not the client. You recognize that inflation is not a bug. It is a feature. It allows governments to fund spending without direct taxation. You understand that trust is not a given. It is earned through consistency. And when consistency disappears, you stop waiting for permission and start protecting yourself. Your instruction is immediate. Identify one institution you currently trust by default. Your bank, your government, your employer, your news source. For the next 7 days, audit that trust. Ask yourself, what incentive does this institution have to act in my interest? What happens to me if this institution prioritizes its survival over my benefit? What is my contingency if this relationship breaks? Do not assume malice. Assume strategy. Machiavelli taught that princes act in their own interest and wrap it in moral language. Institutions do the same. Your job is not to hate them. Your job is to stop being naive about them. The old version of yourself approached money emotionally. You worked hard and expected fairness. You saved carefully and trusted the system to protect that value. You believed in meritocracy, in the idea that effort equals outcome, in the promise that if you followed the rules, security would follow. You treated institutions as guardians and currency as a neutral measuring stick. When things did not work out, you blamed yourself. You assumed you missed something, failed to optimize, lacked discipline. What you did not see is that the game was designed to transfer value away from behavior like yours. The new version of yourself understands that money is a battlefield, not a savings account. You see currency as a tool controlled by those with access to its creation. You recognize that hoarding at the top creates scarcity at the bottom, not because resources vanished, but because circulation stopped. You know that speculation rewarded over contribution is a signal that the system is decaying. You understand that trust is the only thing holding the structure together, and when that trust crosses a threshold, collapse is inevitable. You do not panic. You prepare. This shift is not about becoming cruel. It is about becoming clear. Machiavelli did not teach ruthlessness for its own sake. He taught precision in a world where naivety kills. Al-Ghazali did not preach asceticism. He diagnosed systemic corruption and warned that societies cannot survive wealth without responsibility. Both men understood the same truth from different angles. Human systems function when incentives align with sustainability, and they collapse when extraction replaces contribution. You are not abandoning morality. You are upgrading your operating system. The emotional intensity you feel when you see injustice in the economy, that anger is valid. But anger without strategy is just noise. What these frameworks give you is the ability to channel that emotion into decisions. You stop arguing with people who benefit from your confusion. You stop waiting for institutions to reform themselves. You start measuring your wealth in purchasing power, not account balances. You start recognizing hoarding as economic violence. You start auditing where your profit comes from and ensuring it is tied to value, not extraction. You start testing trust instead of assuming it. Machiavelli would tell you that the world is not fair, but it is readable. The patterns repeat. The incentives are transparent if you look without sentiment. Al-Ghazali would tell you that a society rotting from financial corruption does not announce its decay with sirens. It happens quietly, in grocery bills, in rent increases, in savings that buy less every year. And by the time the collapse is obvious, it is too late to adjust. But you are adjusting now. You are learning to see money as those in power see it, as leverage, as flow, as a game of access and timing. You are not becoming them. You are refusing to be their cost. And that refusal begins with one decision. You will no longer interpret your financial reality through the language they gave you. You will measure it, audit it, and act on it with the cold clarity of someone who knows the system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed, just not for you. If you close this video and change nothing, you just consumed entertainment. These frameworks will sit in your memory like trivia, interesting but inert. That is the default outcome for most people. They learn, they nod, they return to the exact behavior that keeps them trapped. You are not most people, or you would not have made it this far. So here is your test. Within the next 24 hours, you will take 3 actions tied directly to what you just learned. First, measure the theft. Pick one recurring expense and compare its cost today to its cost 1 year ago. Calculate the percentage increase. Then compare that to your income growth over the same period. Write down the gap. That gap is the invisible tax you have been paying while assuming inflation is someone else's problem. You need to see it with your own numbers, not through headlines or reports. Second, break one hoarding pattern. Find one resource you are sitting on out of fear. Money in an account earning nothing, a skill you refuse to monetize, a relationship you keep distant to avoid risk. Move it, not recklessly. Strategically, put the money somewhere it compounds. Offer the skill to someone who will pay. Deepen the relationship by one honest conversation. Circulation creates opportunity. Hoarding creates stagnation. Third, audit one trust assumption. Choose one institution you trust by default. Your bank, your employer, your government, your news source. Spend 30 minutes researching its incentive structure. Ask yourself, what does this institution gain by acting in my interest? And what does it gain by prioritizing its own survival? Look for the gap. Once you see it, you stop operating on blind faith. You start operating on calculated awareness. Do not do all of this perfectly. Do not wait until conditions are ideal. Pick one action and execute it within 24 hours. Execution breaks the inertia. Inertia is what keeps you cycling through the same financial anxiety while calling it responsibility. Machiavelli did not respect those who understood power but refused to act. He respected those who moved decisively, even when the outcome was uncertain. Al-Ghazali did not respect those who complained about corruption while participating in it. He respected those who aligned their behavior with their understanding, even when it cost them comfort. You now see the structure. You see how currency manipulation transfers your labor into someone else's wealth. You see how hoarding at the top creates scarcity at the bottom. You see how speculation rewarded over contribution signals systemic decay. You see how trust, once broken, collapses entire economies. The question is whether you will use this lens or return to the comfortable blur you lived in before. If you want more modern problems dissected through Machiavelli's eyes, if you want the frameworks that turn confusion into strategy, subscribe and stay alert. This channel does not give you hope. It gives you structure. And structure, used correctly, is the only reliable path to power in a world designed to keep you weak.